Members of the audience, there are copies of the agenda that we will be referring to on the back tables if you want to grab one and haven't already. The meeting of the Kern County Planning Commission is called to order. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ashley? Ms. Garcia? Here. Mr. Louie?
Here.
Ms. Poole?
Here.
Mr. Hall? Here. Ms. Ovia? Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Would any commissioner or staff member like to make an announcement or report?
Chairman Poole, I have one if you have a few minutes.
Of course. Go ahead.
So for those of you who may or may not realize, I think you probably know, Mr. Scott Denny is retiring from the county. His last day with the county will be, I believe it's April 27th, I believe. Should your commission wish, I was just going to indicate that we would plan on having a resolution for your commission to present to him at your next meeting. So I just wanted to inform you that that was the intent. I'm assuming that is something that you would like to do for Mr. Denny, and I just want to make sure that your commission was aware of that, and that we would be planning on doing that at your next meeting on April 26th.
Madam Chair, Mr. Murphy, do we need a motion for that resolution?
I guess I would turn to Mr. Hall, but I don't think you need one just for have us prepare one and everything along those lines.
You do not need one, no.
Okay. All right. Thought I'd
That
check.
sounds great, Mr. Murphy. Thank you. Commissioners, you've received copies of our last meeting. Does anybody have any corrections?
Motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We'll now move on to items withdrawn or requests for continuance.
We have none this evening, Chairman Poole.
Great. And now we'll move on to the consent agenda.
These are items scheduled before your Planning Commission, which are being recommended for approval by staff, and the applicant has been informed of any special conditions and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audience wishes to comment or ask any questions on the case. This evening, we have 8 items that are on the consent calendar. The first is case number 2. This is zone change case number 27, map 144. The applicant is Kern Vineyards, Inc. by Berry and Associates. This project is located on the north of Bear Mountain Boulevard, east of Wheeler. Well, okay, there we go. That seems to be on. The specific request for this item is a change in zone classification from C2PD to A or a more restrictive district. The staff recommendation is to advise the Planning Commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to approve the zone change as requested and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. The next item on consent this evening is case number 3. This is zone change case 62, map number 98. The applicant is Button Willow Warehouse Company, Inc. by McIntosh and Associates. This project is located on the southeast corner of Button Willow Drive and West Front Street in the Button Willow area. The request is a change in zone classification from A1 to A. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to approve the zone change as requested and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. The next case is case number 4. This is zone change case 13, map 1036, precise development plan number 6, map 103-6. The applicant is Rapal and Ashok Parmer. This project is located on the east side of North Chester Avenue, south of Day Avenue in the Bakersfield area. There are 2 actions before your commission tonight. The first is a change in zone classification from R3 to C1 PD district. The second action is a precise development plan to allow a proposed development of a clinic in a C1 PD district. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to approve the zone change as requested, approve the precise development plan subject to recommended conditions, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. The next item on consent this evening is case number 5. This is conditional use permit 57, map 121, zone variance number 51, map 121. The applicant for this project is SAC Wireless by Verizon Wireless. This project is located near the intersection of Trask Street and Stockdale Highway in the Bakersfield area. There are 2 actions before your commission tonight on this item. The first is a conditional use permit that would allow a 120-foot tall lattice tower wireless communication facility with an accessory structure in a C2 PD district. The second is a zone variance to waive the stealthing requirements in the C2 PD district. Staff would note that your commission did receive an addendum staff report on this item tonight. The purpose of the addendum staff report was to clarify one condition of approval, specifically condition 5B. The clarifications were to specifically identify what areas Kern County Public Works believes the project proponent would have to construct sidewalks as part of this development. This condition has been reviewed by the project proponent, and they are in agreement with the condition as being changed and revised in accordance with Public Works Department. But we do have a revised recommendation, and we are recommending this case be considered on the consent calendar tonight. The revised recommendation is to approve conditional use permit subject to the recommended revised conditions and approve zone variance subject to the recommended conditions, adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached revised draft resolution. The next item on consent this evening is case number 6. This is track 6481. The applicant is Y&S Garden Inc. by Cornerstone Engineering. The project is located on the east side of Apple Blossom Street, approximately a quarter-mile north of Rosamond Boulevard within Rosamond. The request is an extension of time for a period of 3 years for vesting tentative tract number 6481, which proposed to merge and redivide an approximately 13-acre area into 50 lots, ranging in size from over 6,000 square feet to over 10,000 square feet for single-family residential use, 2 limited design variations, and 1 limited exception to street grade requirements, a development variation to allow lot depths less than 100 feet. The staff recommendation is to approve the 3-year extension of time to expire on September 16th, 2021, subject to the original conditions of approval with the inclusion of additional condition requiring the payment of traffic impact fees in effect at the time building permits are applied for on any lot within the recorded map or phase, and adopt the original findings as set forth in resolution number 2606. Case number 7 this evening is track number 6396. The applicant for this project again is Y&S Garden Inc. by Cornerstone Engineering. This project is located on the north side of Rosamond Boulevard, approximately 335 feet east of Apple Blossom Street within Rosamond. The request is an extension of time for a period of 3 years for vesting tentative tract number 3696, which proposed to divide a 20.7 acre site into 81 lots, ranging in size from 7,891 square feet to 9,715 square feet for residential use, and a 26,800 square foot subplot. Project included 2 limited design variations and a development variation to the land division ordinance to allow a residential lot to front a major highway. The staff recommendation is to approve the 3-year extension of time to expire on September 16th, 2021, subject to the original conditions of approval, with the inclusion of additional condition requiring the payment of traffic impact fees in effect at the time the building permits are applied for on any lot within the recorded map or phase, and adopt the original findings as set forth in resolutions number 2506. Case number 8 is track 6428. The applicant is Richard Paul. This project is located on the west side of Santa Ana Street, approximately 150 feet north of Stallion Springs Drive within Stallion Springs. This request is an extension of time for a period of 3 years for tentative tract number 6428, which proposed to divide an approximately 40,800 square foot parcel into 11 parcels that ranged in size from 944 square feet to just over 1,300 square feet for single-family residential use and 1 26,000 square foot common lot. Project included development variations to allow a private access, having right-of-way with less than 60 feet, roll-up asphalt curbs, a condominium lots that are less than 60 feet wide and less than 100 feet in depth, that would allow the deletion of a street sign on a privately owned and maintained driveway within the condominium development. The project included a PD plan that allowed an 11-unit condominium development in an R3 PD district And the project also included a zone variance that allowed a minimum lot size of 944 square feet, where 6,000 square feet were required, a 0 front yard setback, side yard, and rear yard setback where 15 feet, 5 feet from the street right-of-way are required, and a 4% landscaping requirement where 10% landscaping is required in an R3 PD district. The staff recommendation is to approve the 3-year extension of time to expire on September 23rd, 2021, subject to the original conditions of approval. And finally, the last case on consent this evening is case number 9. This is track number 7241. The applicant is Kern Land Partners, LLC by McIntosh and Associates. This project is located on the northwest corner of Heath Road and Rosedale Highway in Bakersfield. This request is also for an extension of time for a period of 3 years for vesting tentative tract number 7241, which proposed to divide a 35-acre site into 82 lots, ranging in size from just under 11,000 square feet to 1.14 acres for single-family residential use, and a just over 3-acre retention basin. The project included 3 limited design variations. The staff recommendation is to adopt the mitigation measure monitoring program, approve the 3-year extension of time to expire on February 21st, 2021, subject to the original conditions of approval, and adopt the original findings as set forth in resolution number 1915. That completes the reading of the consent calendar tonight.
Thank you. Is there any member of the audience that would like to speak on one of the items just read as part of the consent agenda? If so, we will pull that item from the consent agenda and have it heard in its regular order. Doesn't look like it. Any member of the commission, would you like to do so? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
My mic says it, there it is. It goes on and off. I would make a motion to approve as read into the record by staff items number 2, 3, 4, 5, and also the extension of time on 6, 7, 8, and 9 with the changes of the addendum that we got on item number 5 from staff.
Second.
Commissioners, please cast your votes. Thank you. Would you go ahead and read the notice of appeal?
I will, Madam Chair. For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until and after the final date of appeal. This evening, the only case that was final tonight is case number 5. That appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department. I apologize. All of those cases, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, are final tonight. Case number 5 has a 14-day appeal period, so the appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms available at the Planning and Natural Resources Department. The filing for case number 5 must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. For cases 6, 7, 8, and 9, which are related to track maps, an appeal must be filed within 10 days from the date of decision of the Planning Commission. Any such appeal must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $540. If no appeal is received, the action of the Planning Commission is final.
Thank you. If you are here for items 2 through 9, your application has been approved. You're welcome to stick around if you'd like. The next item on our agenda is public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the Commission on any matter that's not on tonight's agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Is there anyone that wishes to address the Commission this evening? Doesn't look like it. Now we'll move on to public hearings. Item 1, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Case number 1 is a conditional use permit that would allow a 65-foot tall monopine wireless communication facility with an accessory structure in an E 2.5 RS district. The project also includes a zone modification that will allow a reduced side yard setback from 78 feet to 58.5 feet in the same E 2.5 RS district. The applicant for this project is AT&T Mobility by Yukon Group. Again, for your commission, the project site has a map code designation of 5.7 in accordance with the Greater Tehachapi Area Specific and Community Plan. And as I mentioned before, it has a zone classification of E 2.5 RS. If Mr. McNamara could put up the aerial. The site itself is developed with a single-family residence. Properties directly to the north, east, south, and west are residentially zoned, and some of them do have single-family residences, and some of them are undeveloped. As I mentioned, the request is a conditional use permit that would allow a 65-foot tall wireless communication facility and the associated equipment shelter. The project proponent for this case is proposing to use a monopine stealthing tower. So that is a very similar tower that your commission has seen, where it looks like a tree. It is skinnier at the top, and as it moves down, the branches get larger and larger, so as it resembles the shape of a tree. The applicant has requested a modification to the required setback for the side yard. Based on our existing development standards, the project would be required to adhere to a 78-foot setback. The applicant has asked for the zone modification to allow a 58.5 yard setback instead. As part of their justification for this request, they have indicated that there is a significant slope on the property. The project would be required, the facility would be required to be installed on this slope, and that they have no viable vehicle access. In addition, as the project is proposed now, the site would be located on the outer edge of the buildable area where the vehicular access is easier. The applicant believes that it would be unreasonable hardship for the property owner to build the facility in conformance with the existing development standards. Staff does disagree with that request, and later on in my presentation, I will explain why. Within the vicinity, there are 2 additional projects that have been approved that are very similar, that required processing before your commission. Those include a 60-foot tall monopine wireless facility, and then also a 58 tall monopalm wireless communication facilities. As part of the notification for this project, staff did receive 3 comment letters. One comment letter was from Dogger. Dogger indicated that the project site is located outside of any of the oil field administrative boundaries, and therefore do not have any comments other than their standard. Should anything ever be identified, it should be plugged and abandoned. We did receive a comment from Thomas Kackert. I apologize if I said that incorrectly. That comment letter is in favor of the proposed request. And then staff did receive a comment from Michael Greer and Terry Wolbert. They were in opposition to the proposed project, and they reside in the house adjacent to the project site. If Mr. McNamara can point out the house that they live in on the aerial. Staff has reviewed the proposed project. We have reviewed the findings that are necessary to approve a conditional use permit. Additionally, staff has reviewed the findings that are necessary to approve a zone modification. Staff does believe that the request itself is consistent with the policies and goals and provisions of the Greater Tehachapi Area Specific Plan. The project and the CUP does meet all of the required standards that we look at when we evaluate these particular projects. Regarding the requested zone modification, staff is recommending denial of the modification at this time. While we do acknowledge that there are special circumstances that exist on the property, particularly with regard to the location and the surroundings, staff notes that the location of the home of the adjacent property to the southeast is in close proximity to the proposed location of the wireless communications facility. Staff believes that this proposed location with a setback reduction of approximately 20 feet would have an unreasonable impact on the neighboring property owner. Staff also believes that the modification is required due to the project site topography and accessibility to the site. That is the request. However, staff notes that topography and the proposed location and the recommended location is relatively same, as both are on a hill, and staff does not believe that the concerns over access in and of themselves are specific reasons why the zone modification should be supported. I would note for your commission that we did inform the project proponent that our intention was to recommend approval of the conditional use permit and denial of the zone modification. The project proponent has indicated to us that they are in agreement with that. They understand the concerns and that they believe that they could construct the facility within the approved development standards that are already incorporated in our zoning ordinance. With that being said, there is one additional condition I would like to provide for your commission. This would help identify specifically where the revised tower would be located. So staff would be recommending, as part of this overall request, the addition of condition 4E, which indicates that prior to the issuance of any grading or building permit, the project proponent shall submit to the Planning and Natural Resources Department a revised site plan for review and approval. The revised site plan shall identify the location of the proposed tower consistent with all development standards and setback requirements, generally located 20 feet west. So what that will do is that with that revised site plan, that will push the proposed tower further west away from the neighboring property owner house, and it would be then located within the area of all of our development standards. So with that, that completes staff's presentation. The recommendation would be to approve conditional use permit, subject to the recommended revised conditions, deny the zone modification as recommended by staff, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions your commission may have.
I have one quick question. So can you put the language, the proposed additional? The only thing that I might suggest is the last sentence, generally located 20 feet west, and identified 20 feet west of what specifically? It's the lawyer in me.
Your recommendation would be to delete the word generally? My
recommendation is to identify what 20 feet west of what?
20 feet west of the proposed site. So it's the location they proposed right now.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Mur-
Mr. Sprague.
Mr. Murphy, I notice in the boundary of the parent parcel on that map, the line overlays into the parcels that are adjacent to that. Is that just the way that's drawn on the plat map, or is it infringe on other property, the site?
Chairman Sprague, through the chair, I believe any of those lines that you might be referring to are just GIS mapping,
Okay.
making sure they match up. The proposed cell tower is located wholly within the proposed or within the existing parcel. And again, based on the revised recommendation, it would be required to be pushed over 20 feet west of the site. Therefore, it would require and have a 78-foot setback requirement from the eastern property boundary line.
Okay, and question number two, how do they intend to maintain and service and install new fronts access-wise? Is there an existing road to the tower site that they'll be utilizing, or what?
Chairman Sprague, through the chair, or Commissioner Sprague, through the
Yeah,
chair.
there you go. I was going to correct you.
There is a public road that leads right to that property. It's the
Okay.
road that has the property, and I'm going to probably pronounce it wrong. Wapiti, I believe, is how it's referred to, but that's true if Mr. McNamara could point where that comes from. So that is the access that will be utilized to get to the project site.
And there's access off that cul-de-sac?
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions from the commission at this time? Okay.
So was there any public comment?
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
Is the applicant or their representative present? Would you like to come up and please state your name and spell your last name for the record? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jerry Ambrose. I'm here on behalf of AT&T. My last name is A-M, M as in Mary, B-R-O-S-E. As Craig said, we are in agreement with his recommendation. We'll be moving the tower over to 78 feet from the east property line, and I'm here to answer any additional questions.
Yeah, I don't think his microphone is working for the public.
Switcher. Is that better?
That's better.
Shall I repeat?
Sure.
Okay. My name is Jerry Ambrose, here on behalf of AT&T. That's A-M-B-R-O-S-E. We're in agreement with Craig's recommendation, and the tower site would be moved over an additional 20 feet for a total of 78 feet from the east property line. And I'm here to answer any questions, additional questions you may have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the commission? No. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in support or opposition of this project? Doesn't look like it. At this time, I'll close the public hearing on the project. Are there any comments, or I'd entertain a motion from the commission if there are not additional comments or questions at this time?
If there's no other commissioners' comments, I'll make a motion to approve item number 1 as read into the record by Mr. Murphy.
Second. Second.
Thank you. Cast your votes, please.
I would, but I don't have a screen.
Momentarily cast your votes.
There we go.
Thank you.
All ayes.
Notice of appeal.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
This project is final by your commission unless it is appealed. Again, for projects where the commission's action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. An appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with the filing fee of $540 on forms available at the Planning and Natural Resources Department. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of tonight's hearing.
Thank you. Our last item this evening is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We do have one before you go. Commissioner Sprague diligently pointed out that on the agenda, it says that our next meeting is April 27th. Clearly, that is a mistake because I don't believe any of you want to come here on a Friday night. That is a typo, and it should read April 26th. So for the next meeting for the Planning Commission is on April 26th.
Thank you.
Now, make a motion.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.